special to Loma Agency as they are clients and dear friends. For those of you who are not familiar with Great Place to Work, they are the global authority on workplace culture and have a mission to build a better world by helping organizations become great places to work for all. Joining us today are Ed Frauenheim, Sarah Elizabeth Perry, and Jamie Dowden. Ed is the Senior Director of Content at Great Place to Work. He writes articles and research reports, conducts data analysis, and speaks out about workplace culture issues. He is co-author of research papers in Great Place to Work's Innovation Insight series, including the first report, Innovation by All. Ed also co-authored Great Place to Work's 2018 book, A Great Place to Work for All. He has a bachelor's degree in history from Princeton University and a master's degree in education from the University of California at Berkeley. He lives in San Francisco with his wife, Rowena, and two kids, Julius and Skyla. In his spare time, you can find him cheering for the Warriors, practicing yoga, and dancing to Daft Punk. Welcome, Ed. Sarah Elizabeth recently joined the Great Place to Work events growth as an events growth marketing manager. She assists the events team on all marketing efforts related to the For All Summit. She has an extensive background working in both fashion and marketing sectors, including digital marketing, design, and international marketing. Sarah Elizabeth has a bachelor's degree in fashion design, a master's degree in marketing, focusing on innovation, as well as an MBA focusing on international business. She's from Nashville and currently lives in San Francisco, and in her spare time, you can find her surfing, hiking, scuba diving, and cheering on SEC football and basketball. Hi, Sarah Elizabeth. And last, but certainly not least, Jamie Dowden helps lead the strategy and execution of Great Place to Work for All's annual summit, as well as other events. She creates compelling attendee experiences through content, programming, on-site activations, and customer appreciation entertainment events. On an annual basis, she conceives of and manages more than 24 high-quality breakout sessions for an audience of more than 1,100 attendees. Her event responsibilities include partner relationships, and over the past 5 years, she has developed sponsorships with brands including Marriott, Salesforce, and EY. Jamie has more than 10 years of event strategy planning and execution experience. She specializes in conference strategy, program planning, timeline and program management, vendor negotiations, on-site staff coordination, and sponsor relations. She also has experience managing event budgets and creating a master run of show. Jamie lives in Sacramento with her husband, Josh, 6-month-old daughter, Josie, and her dog, Gus. This talented trio is here today to talk to us about all about trust and what it means to bring our whole selves to work in these trying times. If you have questions throughout their presentation, please put them in the Q&A section of Zoom and we'll do our best to get to them at the end. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to them. Welcome, team.
Thanks, Lauren.
What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do?
Thank you, Tina Turner. But we'd like to change her lyrics slightly for today. Our session is titled, What's Trust Got to Do with It? Rather than What's Love Got to Do with It? And the answer to that question for us is everything. We are thrilled to be here as part of LOMAPALOOZA and to share a session where we're going to invite you to check in, get real, and dance your way to better connections at home and at work. We're going to have fun, and as we do it, we're going to highlight one of our main messages at Great Place to Work, which is that trust is central to a great experience at work and beyond. So Lauren just gave us lovely introductions there, so we won't go into detail here. Just to say that, again, I'm Ed Frauenheim. I've been a Great Place to Work for about 6 years. I was a journalist for about 20 years before that, and I do like to dance, and we're going to get to that later on. Also on the call is Jamie Dowden, my colleague, and also Sarah Elizabeth Perry, a newer colleague, and they're going to share a bit more about themselves later on. But wanted to take a moment to talk a bit about Great Place to Work. How many of you have heard of Great Place to Work? If you have, please put that in the chat. Just tell us if you've heard about it, or even if you haven't heard about it. We are the global authority in workplace culture. And I know that that sounds like a big claim, but we can back it up. We survey about 10 million employees around the world each year, which we believe is the biggest data set on the employee experience globally. For about 2 decades, we were mostly known as the research firm behind the Fortune 100 companies, best companies to work for list. And we still power that list. But we have a whole range of other best workplace lists. And a few years ago, we added a certification program that recognizes any organization whose employees tell us their workplace culture is great. And today, as you see on the slide, we enable organizations to survey their employees, find insights about their culture that they can take action on, and potentially get recognized for a great workplace experience. The central element of a great culture, we have learned, is trust, especially between employees and leaders. And we'll come back to that idea a bit later. And everything we do at Great Place to Work is really driven by our mission. You see it here on this slide, to build a better world by helping organizations become great places to work for all. That means a high trust workplace culture, not just for some, but for everyone, no matter who they are or what they do for the organization. And this sounds like a serious mission, and it is, but we have a lot of fun as we pursue it and as the companies in our community pursue it as well. And to get to that playful spirit, let me turn things over to Jamie Dowden, and she'll share our agenda and take us into our first activity. Jamie?
Thanks, Ed. Hi, everybody. As Lauren mentioned, I'm Jamie Dowden. I'm the Senior Program and Event Manager at Great Place to Work. I've been with the organization for almost 5 years, so I've had a lot of summits under my belt. As Lauren mentioned, I focus mainly on content, programming, sponsorship, and on-site activation for our annual Great Place to Work for All Summit. This is a very special event for us to be involved with. We've been a longtime partner of LOMA Agency, and they are really have been integral in helping us put our summit on each year. So we're really honored and excited to be here. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview. You know, we're excited to be spending the next hour with you guys. We have a pretty light and loose agenda for today. First, we're going to start with a little bit of a virtual mental check-in. It's a little bit of a Zoom background challenge, and I can give you guys instructions on the next slide for how to participate. And then Sarah Elizabeth is going to share a little bit with us about how to bring our whole selves to work. And then we're going to end with Ed talking about the for all trust mindset. And our intention for this session is to create an open, honest, and safe environment for people. And we hope that you all feel encouraged to share your stories. So we, in the spirit of sharing your full selves, right now your cameras have been disabled for this broadcast. But we were hoping that some of you would want to share your cameras just for this session. You know, if you'd like to participate, you can raise your hand in the bottom of the screen. And just raise your hand and the LOMA team will make your camera visible for the session. There'll be a little bit of a lag and then you'll reappear. And we just ask that you keep yourself muted when other people are talking to ensure we don't have background noise. So again, this is optional. We won't be offended if you don't want to show your camera, but we'd love to see your beautiful faces so everyone can feel like participating and we can bring our whole selves to work. Great. Let's see. Okay. So while the team goes through and enables some of your cameras, I can start explaining how this exercise is going to work. So again, the intention for the session is to create an open and honest and safe space for people to share. So we hope people feel encouraged to not only share their videos, but their stories. Again, if you want your video shown, just raise your hand at the bottom of the screen and the LOMA team will show your beautiful face. Hi, Katie, thanks for joining us. Great, so we're gonna go to the next slide and we're gonna talk a little bit about the Zoom background challenge. So What's really cool about Zoom is you have the ability to add a background. As you could see, the Great Place to Work team, we've uploaded these pretty virtual backgrounds that our team has made for us. And so some instructions for how this is going to work. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to Google search an image and use a personal image on your computer. You're going to save as, and then you're going to save it on your desktop, and then you'll take a screenshot. You'll take the screenshot, save it to your desktop, and then you go back to your Zoom application. So if you could see here, you Google search an image, you save as, click on the arrow down below next to your video, and it'll say choose virtual background. Then you're going to click the plus sign, and then you're going to add your saved image. So it should take no more than maybe 30 seconds to a minute. We'll give each person, about 2 minutes if they want to search for an image based on the question. And then while we go through it, we can also start sharing some of our backgrounds as well. So does anyone have any questions? Great. So I'm going to start. So the first question is, how are you feeling at the moment? And again, what we're going to do is you can go to a Google search, use a photo that you already have on your desktop, save as, and then add it as your virtual background. And as people are doing that, we can start kind of talking through some of the backgrounds that people are putting up, hoping for people to elaborate on those. Some of those things also, I can give you some examples. These are some of the emotions that I think a lot of us are feeling. Sadness, frustration, a little bit of happiness, anxiety, just a lot of different things. So we'd love to hear from you guys. So again, just take a minute or two and look up some images to kind of convey how you're feeling at the moment. And I'll put mine up. Cool. So I can start and kick it off. I, at the moment, am feeling a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling anxious about the pandemic that's occurring at the moment and how it's impacting my elderly parents. I have a mom who's a diabetic, so she is at high risk, so I worry about that a lot. I'm anxious about being efficient at work. I just recently went back about a month and a half ago after I had a baby, so I was off work for a while and trying to figure out how to kind of adjust to this new normal has been a lot. Also, everything that's going on in society, that's causing a lot of anxiety, figuring out how I personally can break that cycle. I know that's a lot of heaviness, but we wanted to kind of get people comfortable and talking a little bit and feel like they want to share. I know there's a lot of things on people's mind. So if anyone wanted to expand on their background images, again, we encourage you guys to be open and honest. This is really a safe space to share. Katie, would you like to share your backgrounds?
Sure. I was just quickly looking up to see if there are any good cartoons from New York Times of parents trying to work with kids in the background. I think for me, that's been my biggest daily struggle, is trying to balance the two of those, and it's just been incredibly hard. And so I just thought this one was kind of funny. But there's so many fun ones, and I enjoyed actually for a second looking through those. It brought a bit of levity to everything. But yeah, that's why I put mine up there.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Elizabeth, would you like to share your background?
Sure, absolutely. So, with everything going on with the pandemic and everything going on socially, I just kind of feel like I'm in this time warp, or just kind of just spiraling at times. And so not always knowing exactly how to feel. when I should be feeling. And so like really trying to work through what those kind of emotions feels like. And then also, you know, not knowing what day it is. I really feel like it's much like a Groundhog's Day. So it's just constantly repeating. I wake up and go, wait, is it Monday? Is it a weekend? Is it Thursday? I don't actually know. So kind of working through some of those.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I can completely understand that. Does anyone else want to share? Amy, do you want to share your background?
Sure. So I just put up a bunch of books in the background. I have been reading a lot. I've been trying to find things to fill my time, and there's been a lot of stuff to read recently, and a lot of articles that have been shared and books that have been shared, and a lot of things that I've been trying to really kind of learn and educate myself on. So everything's kind of overwhelming. There's so many resources, and there's so much time that's just available right now to be doing things with. So this is kind of the representation of everything that's been going on in my head, but it's been good. Just doing my best.
Thanks for sharing with us. We appreciate it. Great. So we'll just go on to the next question. Again, same thing. We'll take about 2 to 3 minutes again. You can search the internet, or you can use an image on your desktop, or but the question is, if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be? I know we're all limited in where we can travel, so it would be great to kind of hear where your dream destinations are at the moment, where you can go to in your imagination. If you could, you know, here are some images to spark that. Being on a beach, Italy, the mountains, all those beautiful places that we all used to go to. And we'll just
Jamie,
take
do you
another
maybe want to
minute.
remind folks, if they want to participate in this, they have to raise their hand to become panelists?
Mm-hmm.
Because there may be others that are running to do that.
Yeah. So again, just raise your hand in the bottom if you want your camera to be shown. Again, no pressure. We won't be offended if you don't want to show your camera. But we're just trying to all bring our full selves so we can all have an open and honest conversation. So I'll put mine up as well. Well, great. Katie, would you like to share your backgrounds?
Sure. So this is the nightclub Scorpios in Mykonos. And I chose this background because I had been planning on making a trip there this summer. It also is a kid-free zone, which is somewhere I'd like to be, which I absolutely love having my daughter around, but having a kid-free vacation or just quick getaway would be amazing. And then I just love the warm weather in the ocean. So just sort of a happy place to imagine myself being at, and someday making it.
Sure is. Thanks for sharing. Lizelle, how about you?
So my photo is actually, I have adopted a nectarine tree in Fresno at this family farm called Matsumoto Family Farm. And unfortunately this year we're not able to go for a lot of different reasons, but it's a place that we go to every year. Unfortunately, I was able to jam up some nectarine jam that I can kind of reminisce and still feel like I'm in the orchard. So this is where I would want to be.
Oh, that's wonderful. How cool. Thank you for sharing. Well, great. Anyone else? I see Ed, Sarah Elizabeth, Amy, maybe want to share?
I can chime in and say I'm hoping to go to scuba diving in Hawaii. That was a trip on our family plan before the pandemic hit. So hoping at some point to be able to get back there. I'd love to go and do that with my 2 teenagers. We've never done it. And so this idea of getting away and swimming with turtles, scuba diving is really, that's where I'd like to be right now.
That sounds really nice, under the ocean. Great, thanks so much for sharing. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go to the third and final question. What's the most comforting thing that's gotten you through this quarantine? I know there's a lot of things that's gotten people through, so feel free to share that. Put up mine. So I can start because I love this picture. So this is my daughter, who is now 6 months old, and she's my coworker at the moment, and she's already a firecracker. It's been definitely, as I mentioned, challenging returning back to work, and not only returning back to work after having a baby, but also returning to this new normal of quarantine and not having childcare. So for me, you know, with that, the silver lining is that I get to spend so much more quality time with my daughter and kind of see her, you know, develop in these really important stages of life. So it's seeing her smiling face, even though she doesn't look like she's smiling in this photo. It helps me get through the hard days for sure. So that's really what's helped me get through this difficult period. Oh, Amy, will you share your photo?
This is my dog, Spark. So I'm lucky enough to be spending this time with my family, and I haven't lived with them for a little while now. But that means I get to have the family pets with me as well. So this little guy, Spark, and our other dog, Maggie, and our cat, and everybody, they're helping get me through this for sure.
Adorable, so cute. And Sarah Elizabeth, what about you?
Absolutely. So mine is a sign that I actually saw on Pinterest because I'm obsessed with Pinterest, anybody who knows me. And it says, staying positive doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. It means that hard days, even on the hard days, you know that better ones are coming. And so that the idea of the positivity, and that even though this is a hard time, we will get through this, and that we are moving forward in one way or another, and it will get better, that there is an end to all of this, and it will be a more positive end at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's really important for sure. And Lizelle, tell us about your photo.
Sorry, my photo is kind of cut off, but there's one person that's helping me to get through the quarantine, which is my partner, husband, Mike. We're expecting our first baby in about a month, about 5-6 weeks. And he's just been, you know, like, he's my best friend. And so, you know, I'm just really lucky to be stuck with my best friend through, like, you know, this really challenging time, that we're able to kind of really, you know, take it one day at a time while anticipating, you know, what we have in store for us with our new baby. So I really appreciate him and hope he knows how much I do.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing, Lizelle. That's really nice. Well, thanks everybody for participating and you know, sharing photos of how you're feeling and where you wish you could be and how you're getting through this difficult time. As we just experienced, this is how we kind of check in with each other. We do this at Great Place to Work. We have a lot of mental check-ins with one another, mentally and emotionally and physically. It's just important to always kind of check in with one another. You know, we believe it's important for us as individuals and teams to share personal things about ourselves as a way to build connections to one another and maintain our emotional health as individuals. And we want to dive deeper into this concept of how we really bring our whole selves to work. And at this time, I'd love to hand it over to my colleague, Sarah Elizabeth, to talk more about that.
Hi, everybody. So as Jamie and Lauren have said, that I am Sarah Elizabeth. And as Ed mentioned earlier, I'm the newer colleague. So I've only been here about 3 months. So it's been an adventure because, you know, the way, you know, the current pandemic is going, we've all been in lockdown for about 3 months. So it's been a fun time. So kind of the adventure begins. So what does that mean? So I started my very first day at Great Place to Work was at our For All conference here in San Francisco. So March 1st, I fly out to San Francisco. and I start work. And so excited, do this whole week-long conference, get to start meeting, a lot of our affiliate partners, a lot of, customers who are coming through, a lot of just new employees that are here, which was amazing. So after this week-long conference, I fly back home and I start the real adventure, which is driving across the country. So luckily during this time, my lovely mother, God bless her soul, was such a trooper and really helped me, get through this. So it takes us about 4 days to drive cross country in my teeny tiny SUV that we packed up in about 6 hours, packed my whole life in 6 hours. So during this time, panic buying wasn't a thing, lockdown hadn't started, you could still get toilet paper. Like there wasn't toilet paper shortage. I literally get to San Francisco and it is just locked down. So what does that mean? So I get here on March 15th, March 19th, lockdown starts. So, okay, so that's an interesting experience. So I'm going through all these psychological emotions. So, I'm so excited. I have this brand new job. I've just graduated grad school. I'm getting to go to a new city. I'm starting this new adventure. I'm all excited. There's so much to do, so much to see. What could go wrong, right? Well, after that, those nerves start kicking in. So everyone has those nerves when you first get that job. First day of work, is this really a good job for me? Is the company really going to like me? Am I going to do really well? What does this mean? But then also during this time of pandemic, all of a sudden companies are doing layoffs. Am I going to be laid off? Are my family members going to be laid off? I packed my entire life and moved cross country. Do I need to repack it and move back cross country? Like, what does this mean for me? So having all of those nerves. Well, also not only that, but, all of a sudden I start feeling very alone. I'm in a city that I don't know. I know nobody in this city. I'm living alone. Like I'm basically talking to a lamp just to have conversations. My family's 3 hours ahead because they're in Eastern time. So, by the time I'm done with work, they're getting ready for bed. So what does that feel like? It's just craziness going on in my head. So with all of this, our CEO, Michael Bush, talks about how meditation and exercise, are some of the key factors within a great place to work. So I really started listening to what he said and really started finding meditation and yoga and really trying to find that place of content and looking at things through a more positive outlook so that, I didn't focus on the negative, especially during all this social, unrest and this whole pandemic. It's very, very easy to get so consumed by it and become very negative in these negative thoughts. And so once I was able to get rid of that and really go, okay, this is happening. I have no control. Let's move forward. What can I do to make things better? So with that, with this adventure and with everything going on, how am I able to bring my whole self to work, basically from home? What does that look like? So I do it in a kind of 3 easy ways, which anyone can do, and it's very inspiring. And a lot of it comes from the Great Place to Work culture. So the first one is being authentic. So what does that mean? So showing up honestly, without self-righteousness, being vulnerable. As Jamie mentioned, we do these psychological check-ins, before meetings. We go, okay, how is everyone feeling? People have kids, who are running around and, pets jumping into videos and new babies and babies on the way, or you're just alone. So like, where are you feeling? How are you doing? And then just being able to open up. We have an executive whose husband used to work from home and he would take naps in the middle of the day. And she was like, why are you taking naps? Like, get up, do your work. Like, this is silly. Well, the moment she started working from home, she realized, she was, oh my gosh, working from home is so much harder than actually being at the office. Like, I need to take a nap. So being able to realize that things have to change. So being that authentic self and that authentic person. And then the power of appreciation. So being able to appreciate yourself, you might, not be able to achieve everything in one day. My parents, when I was little, taught me from this military guy who, get up every morning and make your bed. So if you accomplish nothing else during the day, you've at least accomplished one thing, you know, and being able to go, okay, I did accomplish something, but also appreciate your team. You know, our head of HR during our, what we call launch pads, which are whole company meetings bi-weekly, you know, she just goes, who has appreciation shout out they want to say? And it could be something like, Jamie is so amazing because she's going to give me some dishes because I don't currently have dishes. Or, you know, something along those lines of, you know, just thanking someone just for being who they are and being their authentic self, as well as the team getting stuff done. And then finally, the embracing a growth mindset. So being able to approach your work and your life with an understanding that you can improve anything at any time if you're willing to work hard. And I know that sounds like something like you teach your kids and, you know, all of this, but it really is true. You know, if you can dedicate yourself and you can practice and you can go, okay, maybe I'm failing, but there has to be something, and being able to grow your mind, you know, reading and learning and understanding that everything is an experience. So every challenge you meet, you know, helps your mind grow. So with that said, you know, what is the biggest challenge, you know, you are currently facing in bringing your full self at work from home, you know, and how are you kind of managing these situations? And if you're not managing them, that's okay. Because we all have things, and, you know, sometimes it's very easy to manage and move forward. And then there's days like I had the other day where it was a complete meltdown. And again, my poor mother, you know, on the phone with me for an hour to be like, it's okay, like, you know, having that outlet. So I would love to challenge anybody who wants to pop on screen, raise their hand, or even put in the chat box, you know, kind of what are your challenges you are facing, and kind of how are you managing, or how are you struggling, and what would you like, you know, to be able to manage. So if you guys want to take like, you know, 2 minutes or so just to kind of either pop on and tell a story or write a chat box, I think it'd be great to hear. All right, so while some people are, you know, typing, I see some people typing. Ed, I know you have a little bit different story than what I do, being alone, but you have kids. Kind of how are you, what are your challenges, and how are you kind of managing some of those challenges?
Sure, Sarah Elizabeth. Yes, I have like the opposite problem of being isolated in a place. I have 2 teenagers and a wife in a 1-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, and it's very tight quarters. And I would say that the biggest challenge is actually not that space. It has turned out to be more like the intensity of parenting during this time. And one thing in particular is that my teenage son has had a job. He got his first job as an ice cream scooper. And yay, he's making money and scooping ice cream, but my wife and I haven't always agreed on whether that's a safe job right now. Even though it's considered an essential job, it didn't really strike me as worth the risk of him being exposed to a lot of customers. And we had really, you know, tough conversations between my wife and myself, and between us and our son. So I would say that it's made parenting more intense, kind of going back to what Katie was saying, even though she has a little one, I have teenagers. And I think the management part is really trying to be, going back to your 3 steps of being authentic, being vulnerable in these conversations, not trying to be like bossy dad guy, but really try to listen well and co-create this parenting plan with my wife, and to try to really be, you know, a listening dad, even if we have to make some choices that my son doesn't like. So that's, I would say, that the challenges of doing all that and being an effective worker, those have been challenging during this time.
I understand that. Jamie, I know that you have, you know, your new little one, 6 months old. So I'm alone. Ed's got teenagers. You have a husband and a baby. How are things working for you?
I mean, I'm in survival mode. I think, you know, I heard someone say that you're not working from home while taking care of your child. You're at home taking care of your child, trying to work. And so I've really experienced that a lot. I think, as I mentioned earlier, coming back from maternity leave, it's definitely been a struggle for sure, and figuring out like, well, what does my new reality look like, and how do I manage? I've been thankful that my sister has been here and helping with the baby, but you know, there's so many different emotions that you feel just going back to work from not working for so long, you know, and then on top of that, you're dealing with so many outside circumstances. And so it's definitely like, it's almost like experiencing people are experiencing their own version of emotional trauma. You know, whether it's dealing with your kids or dealing with what's going on outside of your home, or dealing, you know, there's just so many different dynamics that are at play. And so I think it's important that we all kind of speak up and own the fact that it's not easy.
Absolutely. So, you know, with these different things, you know, that we're all going through, you know, there's a lot of ways to keep healthy mindsets. And that during this time is very, very important. And it's something a Great Place to Work that we actually take very seriously. You know, as we spoke, you know, earlier in my 3 ways to, you know, bring your whole self to work. These ways are important as well. And they actually get, you know, they can get you through those hard times. So physical exercise, again, as I mentioned, our CEO, Michael Bush, you know, talked a lot about, you know, ways to be successful within the company. And one of the things he always talks about is get out and do 30 minutes, go for a walk. He's like, I don't care if it's during the middle of the day and you come to a Zoom meeting with a very sweaty shirt on. He's like, but it just shows that you were actually going and doing something physical. And, you know, as if anyone's ever seen Legally Blonde, Elle Woods says, you know, exercises release endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. And, you know, happy people just don't shoot their husband. They don't, you know. So being able to release his endorphins and be happy can really just help set you apart and just make you feel good about whatever you're going through. And then the next one, as I mentioned earlier, is meditation. I'm not the best at meditation. I know my mother and I will do a lot of YouTube type of meditations, and we just kind of follow that. But it really helps kind of center yourself and bring yourself in and listen to your breath, and kind of gets those negative thoughts away so you can focus on what the task at hand is. And then what we have here is being present in your feelings, you know, as we talked about the psychological check-ins, and just going, you know, I'm having a hard day. X, Y, and Z has happened. The baby kept me up all night. My child's running around. She got lost in the woods. Whatever that might be, you know, being able to bring all of that and just admit it, which can be hard for a lot of people, especially if you're a very private person like myself, that can be hard to do. But knowing and having that trust feeling is really important. And then finally, the one thing that helps me so much is supporting the community and helping others. You know, I have always been involved in volunteer work since the time I was little, and being able to help somebody who's not able to help themselves, you know, makes me happy and makes me be able to bring, you know, myself. And it's not focusing on me, it's focusing on somebody else and getting them through their hard times. So those are kind of the biggest things that are most important that, you know, at Great Place to Work, we actually look for and we look at and we actually do ourselves, which is really important. And then with that being said, we're going to keep talking about these trust mindsets and how this works. And this last part with Ed here. And then in particular, not only are we actually going to talk about the 4All trust mindset, but we're actually going to dance about the trust mindset. So Ed, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm excited to see what we have here.
Thanks, Sarah Elizabeth. And yeah, this idea that Sarah Elizabeth was just talking about in terms of healthy mindsets and all we can do during these difficult times, not just the pandemic, but even the more recent social unrest and questions about equality and policing. It's really an important time to have a healthy mindset. And so one of the mindsets we'd like to offer to you is this concept of a for all trust mindset. So I want to just take a quick poll here. I'm going to ask how many people are familiar with this term, the for all trust mindset. I'm guessing not too many, but put in the chat if you've ever heard of it before. You probably came to one of our conferences if you had, or read some of our other content. But love to kind of get a baseline understanding of that. And as people, if you weigh in on that, I'm going to start exploring this by telling a story. Let's see if I can get this here. This is my daughter. So I told you about my son, who's 17. This is my 15-year-old daughter, Skyla. And you can tell in this picture something about her personality. She can be surly. She's been a handful to me in the last couple of years as we butted heads with her becoming a teenager. And there's times I've lost faith in her. I've worried that some of the ways she can be kind of, you know, surly or rude may be how she's going to grow up. You know, what if we raise a child that's going to be a rude person to everyone in her life? My wife, though, has counseled me to have faith in her, to trust her, see her as a glass half full, and trust that she's going to grow up okay. So I've tried to do that. And the ways I've tried to do that include really remembering what she was like as a little kid. Here's a picture of her when she was about 3 at her grandparents' pool in Arizona. And that's me throwing up in the air. And what I love about this picture is that smile she has, this radiant joy of her face, very different from the picture to the right, of her teenage surliness. And when I started, that was part of what I've done in the last couple of years. And I've also just tried to really work at seeing all the good things in her, not just the moments of strong-willedness or of rudeness. What I have tried to see is the things that she's really great at. And one of those is art. I think that she's a super creative artist. And here's an example of this sort of wild painting she did not too long ago that I've really appreciated. And she doesn't just make art in abstract ways or just kind of whatever tickles her fancy. Right now, she's doing a lot of art about Harry Styles from One Direction, if you know the band. She's planning to go to his concert. But she also makes art in a very generous way. And here's a portrait painting she did not long ago, and it's of me. And I actually think she kind of nailed it. She captures a way I can be kind of anxious at times. And she got my favorite colors in there, orange and teal. And this was a gift she gave to me. And I started little by little kind of appreciating her and seeing her as more of someone I could really have faith in. And it all sort of paid off this past holiday season because we took a surprise trip to Europe. And the kids didn't know this was going to happen. And here we are on the top of the Eiffel Tower. And Skyla was super grateful for this trip. You know, let a lot of the surliness slide off and really was just joyful. And I think that this picture captures that same radiant, joyful smile that she had when she was 3. So this is an example of me trying to extend a deeper trust toward my own daughter. And it's really paid off in our relationship and in our family system. So this is, as we would say, is an example of the for all trust mindset. And in effect, I started demonstrating that kind of a mindset with Skyla, trusting her quite deeply and not seeing her as someone who I couldn't trust and I couldn't have faith in. And so let's break this concept down a bit. First of all, what are mindsets? You know, Sarah Elizabeth talked about the healthy mindset, and we're talking here about trust mindsets. Well, mindsets basically are your deep-seated beliefs. Some of you may be familiar with this term because of Carol Dweck's book called Mindset that came out a couple years ago that talked about having a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Sarah Elizabeth alluded to that also. So these are beliefs that really shape our behavior and we might not even be aware of them. So even if we're not aware that we're not trusting deeply in our daughter, they're still going to affect how we respond to her. So if she doesn't pass the ketchup right away when you say, please pass the ketchup, I've been inclined to jump all over her instead of saying, again, will you please pass the ketchup, Skyla? So the good news is that mindsets are a choice. We can change our mindsets, especially once we become aware of them. And so let's now apply this concept to trust and what we call a trust mindset. What we really mean by the trust mindset is your mindset about trust, your attitudes about how much faith you can have in people, in effect. And we kind of define the term in a couple different ways. One is how widely you extend your trust. That is how many people you're willing to trust. It also has to do with how deeply you're able to trust them. So how much are you able to trust any one particular person? And how inwardly are you prepared to be outwardly present? By that we mean, like, are you able to sort of like calm your mind, do some of that meditation that Sarah Elizabeth talked about so that you're actually quite prepared to be with someone? and be present, as I think Sarah Elizabeth talked about, or maybe Jamie did too, that to really be ready to show someone that you're demonstrating your trust, your faith in them. You're not distracted, and you really can't be listening well and demonstrating that you have a lot of faith in what they have to say. So given that this is our definition of a trust mindset, we might say, why does it matter? What does it matter if you have a deep and wide sense of trust in those around you? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, as I just talked about with my story of Skyla, it really can affect your family relationships, your personal relationships with friends and family. If you're going around and sort of not trusting people around you to be good, to be capable, to be reliable, you're going to tend to act in ways that almost reinforce the negative behaviors. When I started jumping on Skyla for not passing the ketchup quickly, it made her more likely to be resistant, right? Whereas by showing faith, you actually bring out the best in people and in your family. At least that's what I found, and a lot of family experts will tell you something similar to that. And another way to think about the importance of a trust mindset is really when we think about the current moment we're in. Not just the pandemic, but the more recent social unrest and questions about fairness and policing. The Black Lives Matter movement, in a way, is about trusting what our Black colleagues and neighbors have been saying about their experience. And thankfully, most of America, at least I know a lot of you are from Canada, which I love, by the way, I grew up in Buffalo. But much of the world, including I think Canada, has been listening more carefully and trusting Black people when they talk about their experience like never before. So that is, in a way, extending trust to people that might not be of your same race, say, or geography, and more deeply trusting those people in terms of how they're describing the challenges they've faced. And also, we move away from the social and the personal settings. If we talk about the work setting, it's crucial to have a for-all trust mindset. And it's crucial for showing up as an inclusive, high-performing leader, what we call a for-all leader. And that's the icon you see here. So let me say a bit more about for-all leaders. For-all leaders are a kind of leader that we studied. We studied 10,000 managers and 75,000 employees just a few years ago and learned some pretty interesting things about how these people show up, the ones that were actually best able to get their entire teams to have a good experience at work. 93% of the people on their teams have a great experience, is what we found with these for-all leaders. Here are some of the traits they have. Humility. And I love the way this icon captures a woman sitting. How many leaders feel like their role is to stand up and take center stage, be in the limelight. For-all leaders are willing to let their team members get the credit and be kind of in the spotlight. They also have a focus on purpose. And what I mean by that is they're not just looking for immediate results of the quarter. They're thinking about the long-term mission of your organization. And I love this icon of the rainbow coming out of the hand of the woman leader here. It's almost like we're going to pay attention to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, not just the immediate steps, but really that longer term vision. They also are constantly about learning. They're, as Sarah Elizabeth talked about that growth mindset, they believe their team, they believe their individuals on their team, they believe themselves are capable of always growing and getting better at what they do and learning more. And finally, they build bonds of trust. Those rainbow lines can also be seen as lines of relationship, of trust, and not just for some, but with everyone. They can create bonds across gender, race, class, geography, barriers that might be there for some people. They're able to really connect with everybody. Excuse me. So these leaders might sound kind of like magical, right? Like from the land of fairies and unicorns and rainbows. But that's not true. Well, okay, there are rainbows. You see the rainbow here. But it's also results. What we found is that these leaders have better productivity than any other kind of leader of the 5 levels of leaders we studied. They have greater agility on their teams. Their teams are able to move quickly into new business arenas faster. And they have a higher retention rate. People love being on their teams. And we know that retention is vital to the bottom line eventually. So for all these reasons, you really need to have, you want to have for-all leaders, and to have for-all leaders, those leaders really need to have a for-all trust mindset, where they're really extending trust to everybody on their team and beyond their teams too, actually, where they're having a deep sense of trust. They're willing to give their teammates stretch assignments and will give them the benefit of the doubt if they make mistakes, trusting that their intentions are good. They're going to learn. They're going to grow over time. That's the kind of leader, and that's the kind of mindset that for all leaders have. So the next question might be is, how do you move toward a for all trust mindset? And there are a number of ways you can do this. One of them is to find role models. We have a number of them at Great Place to Work. Our CEO, Michael Bush, is a good example of that. We also can tell stories of other leaders that are doing this kind of work. You see them, there's a lot of them out in the press today on people that are doing amazing things during this time of protests for greater equality. Like the mayor of Washington, D.C. is someone who comes to my mind right away. And, you know, get other kinds of examples of this. But there is also a way to move towards a for all trust mindset that is literally about moving your body. More and more, we are coming to realize that movement and combining the body and the mind is important toward changing your heart and your mind, your beliefs. So with that in mind, we actually created a dance that captures the things you need to do to move toward a for all trust mindset. And I'm going to invite you all to experience this with us. We call it the trust mindset level up. And it's I'm going to invite you all to get up. And if you haven't raised your hand and want to be part of this dance movement, I invite you to kind of put your cameras on, give yourself a bit of space. I'm going to show you the moves of this dance, and then we're going to set it to music to Justin Timberlake. We're going to have 41 seconds of fun with it. So the idea of leveling up is like a video game. If you're a video gamer, you know that you level up to go to the next echelon of challenges. And what we're talking about here is elevating your trust mindset to a for all trust mindset, which we believe will help you have healthier relationships at work, at home, and in society. So here is my highly sophisticated instruction sheet. And I'm going to get up here and I'm going to turn my background off so you can see me. And again, invite you guys to do this as well if you want to be part of this. I got my screen behind us. So here's how the trust mindset level up works. Because all the movements are part of the movement to a for all trust mindset. To level up your trust mindset, that is to say, you go lift your arms up twice, you level out, arms out twice, and that's about extending your trust to more people. And you level down, again, arms down twice, and that's having a deeper level of trust, like I did with Skyla, for example. And then you level in, you put your left hand and your right hand to your forehead about getting inwardly prepared to be outwardly present with the people around you. And then we're going to do this. We're going to jump to the right, turn to the right and do it again. Up, to level up, you go out, out and down, down, in. And then we're going to jump to all the way to the left. Up, up, out, out, down, down, in. And then we're going to spin on a count of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to clap twice. And the reason why you do all that left, right, and spinning is because this is a journey, people. It takes a while to develop a better trust mindset. It's not going to happen right overnight. Like for me with Skyla, you just heard me talk about it, the time I spent working on improving that relationship and that mindset. And the claps are because you're going to celebrate. You're going to celebrate better performance on your team and better relationships on your team. And then we do the whole thing one more time. So we're going to go a little faster this time. Ready? We're going to go up, up, out, out, down, down, in to the right. Up, up, out, out, down, down, in to the left. Up, up, out, out, down, down, in. On the second time, you spin a little faster. It's on a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then clap up top. And this is the shape of a rocket ship. And the reason why we make this shape is that this is a representation of our mission at Great Place to Work. We are on a mission to create a better world, the great places to work for all. And we see this as a rocket ship taking us to this better place. And when you have a for all trust mindset, you're going to help us with this mission because your teams are going to be having that better experience and you're going to be creating a great experience for everybody on your team. All right, are you guys ready to do it to Justin Timberlake? I can see we got some thumbs up. All right, so we're going, yeah, all right. So follow me here and here we go.
I got this feeling inside inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Come on, like the way we rock it, so don't stop.
Woo! Everyone give your little selves a high five on your camera there. Thank you very much for doing that with us. See if I can get to the next slide here. Yeah. There we go. Okay, there we go. So that really is how we wanted to kind of bring things to a close. We wanted to say a couple final words here, which is to say, thank you for moving with us, or at least watching us move and looking goofy, and for seeing what trust has to do with it. Again, we think the answer is everything, especially now during this turbulent time of a health crisis, an economic crisis, and a social crisis. We need to have faith in each other. If you have any questions about this content or about our research or about what we do at Great Place to Work, we invite you to check out our website. You see it here, greatplacetowork.com. And we just are really grateful for you all to come to our session. We want to really thank Loma and Lauren, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Ed, Sarah, Elizabeth, and Jamie. Thank you for bringing your whole selves to this presentation and for getting us moving and thinking and talking. And thank you to all of you who participated. That was such a fun activity.